Yes, you are. Hey, you name it, Jesus. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I call you my Jesus. In heaven and earth. Yes, you are. Hey, in heaven and earth. Yes, you are. Lift your voice again. We give you glory. We give you all the glory. Yes, Lord. We give you all the glory. In heaven. Yes, you are. In heaven and earth. Yes, you are. Hey, we give you glory, oh God. 'Cause no one deserves it but you, oh God. In heaven and earth. Yes, you are. You are. In heaven and earth. Yes. Lift your voice. Good evening, good morning from where you're watching me from. I can see Bathsheba, Faye, Carol, Daniel, my cousin, Ella Kange, Jane Tukei, Kibet, my dietitian. Glad to see you here. See how I have really become happy and added some weight. Nancy, I can see you. Nicole, I can see you. Gladys Some, I can see you. Oppo, I can see you, Walter Kemboi and Oppo. I'd like to just request you to please mute yourselves. Kindly mute yourselves. But Sheba, if you don't mind, I have made you a co-host because my admin is not here today. You'll help me with admission. I can see we are 15, and because we want to keep time, I'll just ask that we start as the rest join. Someone taught me as I went through coaching that we should not reward lateness. So we are not gonna waste another 1 minute. It's exactly I'm in Cape Town, so I'm an hour behind, but in Nairobi it should be 8 p.m. I just want to break the ice and ask you to please let me know where you're watching me from. Let me put my video on, sorry, so that you can see me. I haven't changed much. It's been a few months. I was on a break. I have let me laugh a little bit because I've added quite a bit. But yes, I thank God for this far. So karibuni nyote. In Nairobi we say karibuni. For those of you who are in the other parts of the world, you can always throw a comment in the chat box. We are here to learn. We are here to empower ourselves. If you're a psychologist and you're here, like I like to do it, please put your name and your number. We want to promote your business. We want to grow. I always say this ocean. Thank you, Bathsheba. I always say this business is let me say mental health is there's such a huge market, and I like promoting everyone's hustle. So if you're here and you're you're a I'm just laughing because my dietitian has told me to reduce. If you're here, you're a psychologist, you'd like to help people. For those of us who are here, please look at the chat box, get the numbers. Please contact all these people who are volunteering to work with you. I know some of you have reached out to me. I've been quite busy of late, and I love all of you. It's only that even within the parameters of counseling, I must also have a limit. So if you're looking for me and you're not able to, maybe get a session with me, there's so many other people I can refer you to. Let me tell you, mental health is the real wealth. In the current age, mental health is the real health, and I say this with a lot of confidence. So karibuni, welcome all of you. Let me know which country you are in as you watch. I just want to welcome you, and I want to say I have missed all of you. Now today we have a very interesting topic. And this topic is gonna be running for as long as I think we need to exhaust it. All right. So we are going to be talking about relationships because for me as a therapist, there's someone who's also listening to some music. Julie, I'll mute you. But Sheba, you'll help me mute anyone who has not been muted. I can see quite a number. Please help me because you're my co-host. So what I was saying, ladies and gentlemen, is that when we talk about relationships, relationships are sensitive. Relationships, are challenging. Let me say that. And because I'm in a relationship, I have been with the same man for 20 something years. And I can tell you that in as much as right now we are growing and we are parenting adults, I can tell you that you never get there. You never quite get there. But with the right structures in place and with a willing heart of learning, you will be able to overcome. Someone told me there's never gonna be a perfect relationship, and I'm gonna break the ice with such a quote. So why am I why did I choose this topic? First of all, I feel this is the epitome of our living because whether we like it or not, we are always finding ourselves in spaces where we have to talk to people. Within your nuclear family, you have your siblings. I know, we have family issues. Some of us don't even talk to the people who we were born with. I mean, family members. And in extension, when you come to your workplaces, not everyone there might like you. And just as we move closer to our personal space in marriages, we find that, silent treatment is like it has become a game. It's become like a habit. A lot of couples go through series and patterns of conflict where they keep quiet. You're in one country, your partner is in another country because right now people are trying to look for better terms of living. So it means you shift from your original place of birth. But there's so many issues that surround the existence of relationships. So for me, I don't sit here as the perfect person. I sit here as one who is willing to share my knowledge with you today. And then I will also bring in my experience because like I like to say it, I got married young. I have grown in a relationship. Someone wants to say something, but Sheba, please help me mute as we wait for the rest to join. I can see Angela. So what I was saying is that, as I've grown in the relationships, I've learned quite a lot. And I feel that by sharing with you in this space, for those of you who are young, and if you're finding yourself in a place where you're having conflict with your partner, with your employer, with someone that you really care about, I hope that these tips today are going to help you to become a better person. Because when you have the right energy, when you have the right people surrounding you, and when we have the right relationships going on for us, we are more productive in life. Okay? So our topic today is going to be how to make relationship work. And as I said from the beginning, if you're here and you're a counselor, I'll repeat this because quite a number have joined. Please put your number in the chat box. We will pick it up. I'll ask, I don't know if I have friend. Yes, Elizabeth, kindly put my number on the chat box because I'm sure there's some people who'd like to ask me questions later on. Please feel free. The only thing that I cannot guarantee you is that I'll give you a quick response. But even if I take a few days, I will definitely respond. I get overwhelmed. Right now, you can see my background. I'm in a hotel somewhere in Cape Town. I'm enjoying the weather here. It's quite chilly, but this is purpose for me, and that's why I do this for free. Just to empower you. Now, for those of you who are new to this platform or to this forum, we do have WhatsApp groups, one for women and one for men. And we basically have been on a break because I have been thinking on how to empower ourselves. So coming this week, I'm going to be posting a lot of mental health stuff that can help you, even without getting to a therapist, to be able to realign your life. So if you're here and you're not in any of the WhatsApp groups, please pick my number or Elizabeth Mokinyo's number. I can see she has put her number number. Please just let us know. We will add you to both groups. So if you're a male, we'll add you into the men's safe space. If you're female, of course, we'll add you to the women's safe space. And of course, I'd like to add you to follow me on YouTube, on Facebook. Right now, I'm so reloaded. I've just come from a conference in Cameroon, and I've really learned a lot, and I'd like to really empower each one of you. Now, I know some of us are here and they have many questions that regards to relationships. For today, I'll pick a few and I'll answer them. You can feel free to inbox me or post in the chat box. But as we continue, I'll compile because I think from Friday, people have been sending me questions. They're quite a number. I may not be able to respond to all of them today, but if anything, comes into your mind in relation to what I'm going to be talking today and you just need more clarifications, please feel free to put in the comment box. I will be able to read through and respond to you. We have a lot of experts here. Not only just, psychologists, we have life coaches. And as I say, life coaching and psychology is almost the same. So we're going to be answering your questions. Do not shy away. Whatever you try to contain has the ability to destroy you. When something wants to really put you down, it makes you become silent, it makes you depressed, and it makes you numb. But when you raise your confidence and your esteem to a place where you're able to talk about your issues, then you can be assured of a breakthrough. So karibuni sana. As I said, I'd like to know where you're joining in from. I know we have people from America, people from Dubai, people from Australia. You can always feel free to say hi and just let me know where you're watching me from. So what are my objectives today? What is the intention that I have for today? Because as I say, I like to keep these talks short, sweet, and very powerful. Key thing number one, I want you to understand the genesis of your relationship issues, what I call relationship crisis. Okay, that is the first thing. Number two, I would want you to know how to deal with these challenges. Where are they coming from? Because we are all unique. Okay, we come from very different, cultures, very different experiences. Why are you falling into the various challenges that you find yourselves in? Number three, for me, one of the key things that I'd like you to take away with you as we finish with the talk today is not only just learning, but for you to be able to grow. And after growing, for you to be able to live a very fulfilled life. So those three things are very, very key for me. And I'm hoping that even as we continue, you can also give me feedback on where you want me to zero into. Any place that you feel I have not really touched on properly, feel free to either inbox me so that I can be able to address it as we continue with the series. As I said, this will take a couple of weeks. And if you're here and you know someone who actually needs to hear about this issue, please feel free to invite them right now or later on as we continue. You can always share with them the link. Now, let me start with numbers because, we're told statistics don't lie. This is what I found out as I was trying to do my research. 70% of couples break up in the first year of their relationship. And when we're talking about even, marriages, I want to extend this. I want to say this. We are not just going to be zeroing into relationships. I'm going to be, challenge you to also think wide and also put yourself where your area of challenge is, because as we said, we are human beings, we are social, all right? And in that case, we relate with people around us. So if your area of challenge is family, if your area of challenge is employee to employer and vice versa, please feel free to relate, because the relationship dynamics are all the same. The only difference between the normal relationship and an intimate relationship is, of course, when it comes to couples, there's some physical intimacy that goes on. But for the rest, of course, people remain very professional and diplomatic, even as they relate one to another. Now, I once witnessed a couple that spent, and I like telling this story a lot, that spent almost 6 million arranging for a wedding. So the young man went to Cologne. He really wanted to please his wife to be, no really, mentorship in place, took a loan and did this very big wedding, and they left for Dubai for their honeymoon. But lo and behold, after 3 days, they broke up. And to date, they are not together. So they divorced. And the saddest thing is that no one knows what exactly happened. They came back on questioning. No one wanted to talk about anything. I think it might have been very painful. I was concerned, though I was not their therapist, but they failed. One of the things that the lady kept on telling me is that, Venus, when I'm ready, I will share with you. Now it's 3 years down the lane. We have not heard from them. Now, what am I saying? When we talk about relationship breakups, today you could get employed, and after 1 month, you also fall out with your employer. So if you do not know how to go about things, there's the 5 W's: what, where, why, and all these things that we want. If you do not know the dynamics of getting to interact with other people, you're bound not only to fail, but to be very, very frustrated in life. So when we talk about statistics, we are talking about 70%. That's a very huge number. 70% of relationships failing the first year. Guys, the first year. When we're talking about the first year, this is like the honeymoon stage. Ask me about the stages of marriage. Honeymoon stage, that's where you're supposed to be loving on one another. You're meant to be, having that good time. But this is the time also you're getting a challenge. So this is to help anyone who is new in a relationship, anyone who's looking forward to also get into a relationship, to get empowered so that you can be able to build the future you want. Let me tell you guys, ladies and gentlemen, let me just use that term. Life is a matter of choice. Let's not lie around this. Let's not even beat the bush. Life is around choices. You choose the person to fall in love with. You choose the person you want to get employed by, or the people you want to employ. It's all about choices. So never ever take, there's something we call dependency, where you start blaming other people. It could be your husband, it could be your wife, and you start blaming these people for your unhappiness. Okay? If you're in that situation, one thing that I want to tell you today is you must stop. You have the power. You have the controls. This life is yours. You are born alone, single-handed. Unless you're a twin, you are born alone. How is it that someone can literally control how you feel? If that is your case, then it shows there's something you need to tweak in your mindset, because no one has the power to make you unhappy unless you open the door for them. No one has the power to make you cry unless you yourself, you're vulnerable and you want to get to that space. We are different emotionally. We have been brought up very, very differently. But at the end of the day, I will tell you this, and this is something that I want you to walk away with. You have the power. You have the controls. And that is why I am very, very passionate about empowering this very small part of, ourselves, and that is the brain. Because it is the hardware of everything. It is, if the brain dies, you know what happens to the body. So if your thoughts are dead as well, if you're not in a situation whereby you can actually master your feelings in any relationship, then it means you're walking dead. Okay? So 70% of couples break up the first year. By the 5th year, the rate drops to 20%. 20%. It's like, the more you're getting acclimatized to each other, the more you're getting to know each other, the more you're becoming, familiar with one another, you end up, becoming, can I say, we lose some things, respect, all these things, trust goes away. And that is how people end up living relationships very, very bitterly. So we also want to know, why does that happen? I will be answering that very, very soon. Now, another thing, I don't know how many of us here are maybe 30 years and below, because this is a very interesting statistic. 90% of relationships, that start before 30 will end sooner. And I think this is in relation with maturity. So, ladies and gentlemen, please feel free as I continue to talk. Please ask me questions. I don't want you to walk out of here empty. I don't want you to walk out of this session without feeling answered. I really want you to have what you came in for, because I believe for you to just take this time out to come and listen to this, I believe there's something you're interested in learning. Let me start by saying this, and it's a quote that I came across, and it's something that I personally believe in, and it is a mantra. And I know a lot of you keep on asking me, Venus, how has your relationships, survived through all these years, 22 years and going, one thing that I want to tell you, and I encourage those of you who keep on saying, I can't do this, I am done, I can't, Venus, I don't have energy. This is a quote for you, okay? I just came across it. A perfect relationship is not perfect. It is just both people who never gave up. I'll repeat that again, and you can feel free to take your notes. Someone can also be posting for me in the chat box. A perfect relationship, okay, is not perfect. It's just that both people never gave up. Relationships are about going to heaven and back, going to hell and back. It is basically a vicious cycle. You are on a journey. You get onto a smooth road until a certain point where you get into terrain. Now, sadly, most people don't like terrain. Why? Obviously, there's a bit of shaking. It's uncomfortable. Probably there's fear because you even don't know. You can imagine being in a place where there's desertion, where you're just feeling you're alone. Okay? But it is the ability to say, I am here for life. And that is something that I really want to appreciate my spouse for, because he always tells me, I'm here for life. If you're checking out, that's your own problem. That has been something that has kept us going, because one person must be sane. When the other person is insane, one person must be sane. There must be someone who reminds the other person the reason why they're there, because we run short of energy, we run short of fuel, even on the road. But there must be someone who really comes in and tries to make sense. So if both of you are the type to check out, please make sure you don't check out of this session, because I want to explain to you why that habit is there. There are so many things, and I'm sure the psychologists here, the counselors here, the coaches here will back me up on this. You just don't do things because you want to do them. You do things because there's a way you yourself, you're wired. So we want to first make you understand your habits, your patterns, and then in extension, as we go on, and probably even from today, you'll be able to understand your partner's habits. And when you have knowledge gives you the power. Now, power gives you the ability to soar, the ability to go to certain altitudes. So, ladies and gentlemen, never ignore this, this knowledge that we are giving here for free. It is something that many people in different countries will pay so much to at least acquire. Now, because of time, and I said we are going to keep it strictly 1 hour, and in this 1 hour, I'm going to be able to answer some questions. Now, let's look at the demographic breakdown, or the contributors, or the constitutes of a relationship. And I know, as I said, we want to answer so many things: why, when, what, but today we want to answer this question: what contributes to the making of a relationship? What contributes to the running, to the system, to the structure of a relationship? Now, those of you who are good students and you have your pen and paper with you, please take these notes, because if there's something that I also like to emphasize is I want you to pass this on to your children. I want you to pass this on to groups where you meet and you sit and you talk about life. I love it when people say they're doing life, okay? So, key thing is that put this down so that you don't forget, okay? We're going to be continuing and building up the momentum so that you get to know, because we always say even a wall needs cement, needs stone, needs, so there's so many things that will help you get to that happy relationship. And without understanding each component, each element properly, you will be frustrated. You will be frustrated in your relationship, okay? Number one, age. When I talked about statistics, I talked about people who are under 30, okay? Statistics showing that those relationships don't really go far. Why would a psychologist, why would human science frame this statement this way? What is the theory that supports this age thing? Now, a lot of us, and especially in the African context, allow me to just come in with that multicultural approach. In the African context, we like to say, by the time physically a child is blooming, the girls are, the normal physical features now are beginning to show that this child is growing, breasts are growing, the boy has broken his voice and all these things. We already start assuming that this child now has become an adult. Why? Even the voice is that of a man. Okay, maybe they've grown beards and all that. Now, if you're that kind of parent and you like to make assumptions, because one thing that really used to irritate me when I was young is like, when I used to be reminded that now you're an adult, you can make, you ought to behave and you ought to think that like an adult. But guess what, guys? We say this. There's a theory that says this. There's a small, in the brain has different parts, and there's something called the prefrontal cortex. And in this part, there's a very small, can I say a structure or an organ, very small. There's actually the size of a pimple that is called amygdala. Now, what does the amygdala do? I'll just give you some little bit of basic science for your understanding. You can go and do more research so that you can be able to ideally empower yourself during your free time. This amygdala, I think it's the size of my earring. Now, we say by the time a child has fully matured, this organ must be the size of that pimple. And science says this amygdala matures at age 25. Age 25. Now, tell me, when your daughter or your son is 18 and you're pushing them and pushing them and pushing them, some cultures actually encourage the young girls to get married at a very young age, 20, 21. Okay, sometimes I always say our cultures have really undone us. Okay, our cultures have really sometimes let us down, and that is why knowledge is so important. So if you're here and you are a parent and you love using this statement, you're an adult, you're mature, you should think like a mature person, please rephrase your word, because if your child, if this person you're dealing with is not over 25, you're dealing with an immature person. You're dealing with someone who's yet to grow. And why are we saying about growth? We actually say by 25 years, at least this human being can be able to do what? To moderate their emotions. They don't overreact. And that is why a teenager, you will call them, they will keep quiet. You will, be angry and shout at them. They will tell you, Mom, you're depressing me. Oh, now I'm suicidal. Why? They cannot be able to really regulate their emotions. There's so much going on in them. All right? The amygdala is not yet there. So if you're pushing, then this person has the ability to break easily. They're still fragile. But ideally, after 25, we can say, even if you're going out, you're having a relationship with someone, you're in a setup of an employment, we can say that you're able to actually handle some pressure. When your boss, calls you out, when your boss, you're able at least to have a voice of reason, because the amygdala is already at capacity. Now it can be able to handle yourself. Now, if we can shift this into dysfunctionality, someone would ask me, then Venus, does it mean that there are people who don't really mature well? Yes, I believe if we have the dwarfs, and I'm not saying this because of any discrimination. For me, I do want to believe that, yes, all of us have a fault. And sometimes, certain genetic, issues can cause a dysfunctionality. So if we can have people who have different issues with physically with their bodies, then it means even when it comes to age, the amygdala may never get there. Am I talking to someone here? The amygdala may not be really or quite there. So you find someone who's having erratic emotions that they don't seem to be able to balance. You see, the way God created us, he made the brain to have, it's like a genius, it's a genius component. So the body, the system communicates with one another. It's very hot. Please, a certain part of the body is told, please, this person needs to sweat because you must exhale. Otherwise, the pressure will increase. Okay? You get sick. Somewhere, the blood communicates, red blood cells, white blood cells. What are you guys? So basically what I'm trying to say is that the body is very intelligent, and without really so much help, it is able to regulate itself in any way. That is why we find the body fighting diseases. Now, when it comes to emotion, the same is also supposed to happen. When you're going through certain imbalances, emotional imbalances, your own brain is supposed to be able to push you to a place of regulation where you're able to calm down without the help of someone else. But when you find that you always need something, an assistant, someone must count with you 1 to 10 or 10 to 1, then there's a problem right there. So question is, do some people remain in that space where they're not able to really mature? Yes. Now, think of it this way. You get married to someone who's very immature. You get married to someone who cannot seem to regulate their behavior. They get angry. Everything in that space, and I want to just say that space because I don't want to really, specialize in the home. But as I said, think of why you're here. If it's a marriage relationship, if it's employment, I want you to just relate. So if this person gets annoyed, it's like environment there becomes under their control. Like nothing literally can move. This person will break and abuse anything that is around them. Anything that is around them. Emotional immaturity, where they are unable to say, I need to breathe. If the body itself finds ways to exhale and remove things that are toxic, when you get, food poisoning, your body will vomit. We'll try to see, can we diarrhea? Can we vomit? There's this system. Now, you're getting annoyed, but you want to contain things and you want to overdo stuff. So you end up damaging the relationship around you. Can I give a good example? Emotional immaturity is like someone who gets angry. Let's just get closer to marriage. And we talk about, a relationship that probably has gone through issues. Probably there's been some silent treatment. So the anger has been building up. Initially it was okay. We are not talking day 1. We are not talking day 2, day 3, day 4. By week 1, maybe someone has moved to a different room. So you're both living in different, you're in the same house. But now your home is becoming extremely toxic. While someone else has moved to a different room, another person has decided, my life is just going to be drinking. So you go to the bar. We are always told, find ways of making yourself happy. So your own derailer, we have very different defense mechanisms. So your derailer becomes, alcohol. Someone else will be busy doing other things. There are people who even decide their derailer is church. Okay? So your mind is trying to regulate, to find out, how can I approach this issue? But both of you don't really want to come and sort the issue. Why? Both of you are immature. Today, I'm going to call things as they are. We are not going to be, pampering. Because sometimes when you pamper too much, we are unable to find people who are mature enough to handle issues. So, husband is annoyed. Wife is annoyed. And because these two people never matured, basically because of so many things which I'm going to be teaching you about, Wife decides, I'm the Cinderella here. You have to come and woo me and, beg me. I will not talk to you. And husband says, me, I'm the man in this house. I am not going to be taking all this nonsense. Sorry, pardon my French. I'm not going to be taking this nonsense here. So the husband goes mute, the wife goes mute. And day 1 till day 40, day 50, ladies and gentlemen, you're in the same house, or probably you're in different parts of the world or wherever you are, but you're not talking. How is it helping you? How does silent treatment, I want someone to tell me, this level of immaturity that we have gotten to, because we have lowered our thinking capacity. This brain is so powerful because it powers who you are. It powers your personality. It engulfs and surrounds your confidence. So when you decide, I am not going to be talking to this guy. I'm not. You yourself, I want us to think about you as an individual because you're the immature person here. Okay? How is it helping you? And if you can think back through the history, how has silent treatment helped you if it has not destroyed you? Because it starts with those small things, you're triggering each other, and then it gets to other bigger things. Giants that you have to dealing with, adultery and all these things. Okay, we've seen of late, and especially in Kenya, I'll be, especially maybe talking more about Kenya because I'm aware of the statistics where a husband just wakes up and they kill the wife. And when you go back, you're finding that it was just silent treatment. Then they started, sleeping in different rooms. Then no one was serving each other. And then now the anger keeps on going on. So, ladies and gentlemen, as for those of you who are thinking of getting into relationships, please make sure you have your eye on the goal. Look for someone who's mature. Life is an issue of choices. If you fall in love with the face, I can tell you beauty fades away. I was very beautiful when I was getting married. Now I'm I look very different. Not that I'm saying that I've become ugly, but what I'm trying to say is, if beauty is what really pushes you, and if that's the religion you go by, let me tell you, you need to change. You need to check out how you're thinking, because character is the epitome of a good marriage. Okay? Today, we are having so many fake things, fake nails, fake what? Yes, and that is why we are having a lot of fake relationships, because we are being lured by the wrong things. You're not going for character. People who value themselves, people who value the marriage itself, people who value employment. We are going for people who just look good. But in here, there is nothing other than immaturity. So that's the first thing. Okay. Number 2, gender. And gender, I'll just be quick on it because of time. Probably by the time we are doing maybe 10 minutes or so, I'll be checking out the questions. Whatever remains will continue. As I said, every Sunday now I'm back to the grind. We'll be talking more. And in the various groups, please feel free to also ask me questions, okay, as regards to what we are talking about. All right. Now, when it comes to gender, one thing that I keep on reminding us is that women think with their hearts and their emotions. So women, the amygdala is the one that is really functional, and I always say that it's dysfunctional because it is over emotional. But the men really think. The men are able to logically approach things. So for those of you who are in marriages and relationships, I want you to just think back and kind of like try to relate with what I'm saying. A lot of the times when a woman is complaining in a relationship, whether it is employee, as I said, or if it's a marriage or a relationship that is just going on or peaking, they will always say, you made me feel this way. And I want to underline and put in bold, feel. That word. It is about the woman is about feelings. And for men who are here, if you're here and you have been in relationships for more than 3 years, when complacency checks in, what we call in Swahili, and pardon me if you're not a Kenyan, I will just interpret kuzoeana, being complacent with one another, getting too used to one another. there's some level of disrespect that goes in. There's some level of, can I say, the valuing each other goes down. So you find that the things that you used to do for each other are not there anymore. And remember, your woman can only interpret love by how you make them feel. So if you are dating and you used to, when you're wooing this woman, you used to take them out for dinner. In between all that, what happened? What happened? You got a wife and you relaxed. Your marriage will not work. Your relationship will not work. And that is why employees, when they are given a pay cut, they start rebelling. Because they want that relationship either to operate at a place of normalcy, or you increase to becoming a better employer or a better spouse. When you start decreasing in how you're doing things, when you start misbehaving, becoming dysfunctional, it is very difficult for this woman to actually relate with you. Can I speak to the men today who are here? Learn to make it a routine. I always say discipline will take you places. Discipline will make you even dine with the kings and queens of the earth. Discipline is a very important thing. And I feel that in relationships, having talked to so many people from across the world, when you learn to have kind of like a way of doing things in the relationship, a way of treating your wife, and you're not lowering those standards, but making them go higher, you'll be a very happy man. Because a woman who does not feel valued is always full of rage. In fact, I was laughing with someone today and I was telling them, you can always tell a woman who's frustrated in their places of operation, because they're very bitter and they hate on people just like that. Okay? So for you, if you're here and you're a husband, you're an employer, and you're feeling this relationship, Dr. Venus, is just not working. Like, I'm tired with this woman. I am, she's always whining. She's always complaining. There's something you're not giving her. And today I just want to challenge you. Go back and rethink. Where did you start from? Let's just take you back to your history. When you're dating this person, what were you doing for them? Because if you stopped doing some of these things, okay, and they still are very dear to your wife, then that relationship is not gonna work. I'll not even lie to you. Okay? Now, when it comes to we're talking about women. When it comes to the men, and for the women who are here, men are very, can I say, most of them are sharp thinkers, and they think not with their hearts, but with their minds. So it's like doing a calculation. Okay, I need to provide for my family. I need to do this. I need to do this. So for them, it's not about, I feel like. A real mature man will always know, I need to tick this box. I need to provide for my children. I need to make sure I'm home by this time. I need to do this. Now, unlike the woman, I once had a client who told me, by the Venus, I give my wife money for shopping. I've kept her well. We lives in the, in a very good, neighborhood. Basically, I'm working my, out, trying to provide for my family, and my wife doesn't appreciate. So to this guy, he cannot understand, how come this woman does not appreciate what I'm doing? It's because the woman does not see the bills, and for her, can I say, there's a lot of self-centeredness when it's come to the woman. It's about her. Okay, you've paid the bills, you've given me money for shopping, but are you available for this relationship? Or are you always going to meet your boys? Are you always going to do 1, 2, 3 things? So when I talk about creating time is part of the discipline that is required. Okay, we don't have to really beat ourselves out, trying to make, you're there like a sniffer dog, trying to show you, okay, I'm here, darling, I love you, no. You can always agree one to another. Today we are just, every maybe evening or morning, you can start the day together and end the day together. That is what is important. Basically, connect. Because where there is no connection, and I want to say this, where there is no connection, there is no power. Hello? Let's think of wires, okay? Or even a battery. positive and negative. This is a man and woman. For a battery to even work, it must be conjoined. The positive must go, must join to the negative. Okay? So ideally, for this relationship to become powerful, okay, you must connect. You must create that space that you can connect. If it's taking walks together in the morning, do that. Let me tell you, it takes just 30 minutes to please each other. And I want to say this, and I want to put this again in capital letters. If you think sex is what holds a marriage, rethink again. Rethink again. Because there's a time where this woman will get pregnant. There's a time even this man, God forbid, can get into an accident. So if you went into that relationship because of sex, what is going to be left of you? Healthy and powerful relationships grow over time, they become mature, and they are not pegged to the issue of being too gender-based. Because at some point, as a woman, you understand the man. And at some point, the man understands you. So whenever there are issues arising because of the gender thing, you're able to say, hey, I feel maybe here you're over, you're reacting, you're over emotional. Can we be able to sit down and resonate together? Maturity. That was my first point. Maturity. Pride comes before a fall. Pride comes before, oh my God, pride comes before. In fact, let me tell you, a lot of marriages that go down, nothing else. Pride. Pride kills communication. Pride kills the voice of reason, maturity. Pride kills so many things that eventually you end up losing something that would have become so beautiful because you could not see the future. All right? So ideally, what I want you to let you know is that, gender can actually interfere a lot with how we deal with things. And because of time, let me just quickly touch on the third point. We will continue next week. Of course, I'm going to upload this video on YouTube so that we can be able to catch up, especially for the people who have made that request, okay? Let me just quickly go into family structure, because family structure dynamics, very, very important. Now, a lot of us here are coming from places where we were adopted. Hello? Maybe you are never brought up by your real parents. You were raised maybe by a guardian who may be an aunt and all that. Now, that process of living with someone who was not your biological mother or father, when we talk about the steps, we talk about, has the ability to destroy a marriage. Why? It is in that space that we, can I say, cultivate or develop certain attitudes. Take, for example, you are being brought up by a stepmother, and this stepmother probably never liked you as a person. So what develops in your mindset, what you start thinking of is, I'm not loved. So you start becoming needy as a person. And you end up in the wrong relationship because the only apple that was dangled to you was you're needed and you're wanted. And that is what you yourself were going for. So you turn a blind to every other thing, maturity, what we're talking about, many other things. But because this is the one thing that you lacked in your childhood because of probably being adopted, then you get into the wrong relationship, and when this being needed is no longer being dangled to you, then you get frustrated. So you ought to go back and start thinking about yourself and your spouse. How are you brought up? Like, are you really in your nuclear family? Were you adopted? Were there any deaths that caused a certain transition? Because if there's some also transition, I can tell you that trauma is one of the emotions that is acquired or probably, that people encounter because of difficult encounters or transitions. So if this person went through trauma and they were never ever, can I say, treated in terms of psychological first aid, what happens is that eventually you have a spouse who is in the relationship but traumatized. I hope I'm making sense. You have a spouse who is in the relationship but is in dire need. They're codependent on you. Now, if we can shift into the marriage itself, because I want you to really get this very well. And this is something that I've noticed with a lot of women. And you'll pardon me if you're a woman. I'm not really, gender biased, but we have to call a spade a spade. Women have this thing of, because we think with our hearts, telling their husbands, and this is a very common statement, you don't love me. You don't appreciate me. Now, before you utter those words, what exactly do you need to be shown? Because if you're not communicating to your man how you want to be loved, then you're also contributing to the stress of this relationship. When you say you are not loved, what does it mean? And this loving that you want, could it be that it is coming from your childhood? That you never felt accepted, you never felt wanted, and now you've gotten this one person who seems to be like a demigod to you, and he is flooding you with what we call supernatural love, and you're feeling the moment that is taken away from you, you become close to suicidal. Okay? So ideally, try and think through, was I complete as a child? What were my issues? And when I talk about issues, I also want to just take you aback into your adolescent stage, because adolescence is another sensitive period. We have people who were raped during adolescence. Okay? We have people who were molested. We have, adolescence carries a lot of terrible stories. Cara, I'm going to mute you because we can hear what you're saying. Okay? So, and especially for parents who are here, if you're having a child who's 13 and nowadays we are saying teenage starts from 10. Yes, guys, you heard me right. Teenage starts from 10 years. And a lot of our children now are very sexualized. They know because, when they're handling these Android phones, there's so many adverts that go there. So we want to just, can I say just agree that these children know more than they're supposed to know at their age. Now, if you don't hold your child's hand and make it your business to walk with them, you're actually contributing to the downfall of a future marriage. Why? I'll give you a very, very valid example. Some time back, almost like, can I say, let me say 10 years ago, I was doing pro bono services for prisoners and particularly women prisoners at Langata. So I used to go there and I would, for 2 days, I would at least see 10 clients every week. So I met this very beautiful woman and, of course, I was perturbed. Why would she be in prison? I mean, with the way she looked. And just having that conversation with her, she told me, Venus, I stabbed a man. Yeah, I stabbed a man. I was like, what? Yeah, and now getting deeper into the story, just trying to get the juice of the story, this lady, sadly, this lady was raped when she was a teenager. So at some point in her life, she never got treated for that trauma. At some point in her life, a man touched her the way her rapist touched her. And what she did, to cut this long story short, was to pick the nearest knife and to stab this guy over and over again. Now, in relationships, we carry a lot of fetishes. We carry a lot of our past. We carry fears. We carry things that we have stored in the unconscious mind. And it just takes a small trigger. And you'll cry yourself till morning. What happened during that time, you will repeat it, but more aggressively. If you are not able to defend yourself at that time, now you do something that everyone gets shocked about. So those of us who are here and have gone through issues in the past that have never been addressed, this is your, we in church we say this is your altar call. This is your turning point. You need to get yourself into a therapy room. You need to start removing what you have stored in the unconscious mind, because that place is toxic and it just needs a trigger and you'll become something else. So I want to just challenge you to think back. Today night, as I said, I can say I only have 7 minutes, and probably I will pick up from here next time because of time. I know tomorrow is Monday and we need to prepare for tomorrow. So what I'm trying to say is, if you've been here and you've gone through issues in the past that have never been addressed, that have to do with adoption and adolescence, please, let's start the journey of healing. Let's start the journey of decluttering the mental space. Because when we talk about mental health, it is, not only just, the health of the mind, but also the physical, your reaction. Because what is in here dictates how you react to things, how you talk to people. And if you're ever rude, if you're ever angry, if this is you, then it's already an indicator that whatever is in here is not okay. So we need to see the doctor. We need to have ourselves checked. Your inability to accept situations, to embrace things with a lot of reality and say, I am the one who is contributing to the failure of this marriage because of my immaturity, because of how I am so emotional, because I actually went through some trauma in the past and I feel that it keeps on replaying in my mind because of how I react to situations. If you do not get to that point where you're able to really, deal with reality, then, my friend, I can tell you, you don't have a bright future when it comes to relationship. You need to rethink that. And I want to also just add and say this. Pride will never take you anywhere. There are people who are so egoistic and they think, by going into a counseling room, I feel like I'm a weak person. Hey, excuse me, gentlemen who are here, there's one thing that I abide by and I'm very, very big on. Real men go for counseling. Real men look for shrinks and they talk about their issues. Why? The Bible says that the man is the head. The head, this structure. I'm not even going to mince my words, and I'm not, as I said, I'm not really becoming gender, but I'll deal with things as they are. We are not going to, sugarcoat anything. The man is the head. Head. What does this head have? It carries the brain. So if you're a man, you're toxic, you're suffering from trauma, you're immature, you're having issues, how do you lead your children? How do you even lead your wife? What is there in you that can benefit your family? You must get to a place where you yourself, you want the best, not only for your family in extension, but first of all, for yourself. You must be productive at work. You must be able to juggle things around. How are you able to handle stress when already your mindset is under pressure? So what I'm trying to say is, let us put aside the pride. Let us start looking for help. And even if it doesn't have to be help, I always say just go and have real life conversations. Hey, Venus, this and this happened. I noticed my daughter, who is 14, has been doing 1, 2, 3 things. What do you think about? Talk to the experts. I'm not marketing myself here because we are so many here. I invite my colleagues. I invite people in this same area of expertise so that they can be able to contribute. So for those of us who have joined late and you're a counselor, you're a psychologist, you're a coach, kindly put your number here so that people can be able to pick your number and probably later on contact you. Okay, so ideally what I just want to encourage us as I finish and check what is in the chat box, if there's any question, is You need to start with yourself. Marriage is not a result of the other person doing things for you. It is, first of all, what you bring into the marriage. You are what you give. Basically, and I like using such an example. Today, if I take tons and tons of this Dasani water, all right? When I go to the toilet, it's water that is going to come out. If I eat tons and tons of ugali, for those of us who know what ugali is, if I get food poisoning, I'm just basically going to remove that. So if you're full of toxicity, there is nothing else for us to have from you. And probably that is why, for those of us who have been in relationships that have chronic failures, evidently and statistically, you have failed and failed and failed. Women just run away from you. Men just run away from you. You need to sit down and rethink and ask yourself very valid questions. Like, how am I contributing to the failure of this marriage? On your own contribution. We always, like, for us who are Christians, I like to put it this way. Work on yourself and pray for your partner. Start at least modeling how you want to be loved. At least first show that person love. Don't just be on the receiving end. Give me money, give me love, give me what? We ought to change how we are doing life. Because if you need any change, you must change how you're approaching things. Foolishness is doing things the same thing over and over again, and doing what? Expecting different results. It cannot happen. Life is about laws and principles. So that said and done, I can see someone has asked how they can reach me. My number is there. I'd like to ask Elizabeth to please put my number again for those of us who are new to this forum. We also have WhatsApp groups for women and men. If you want to join, we were on a break and we want to start now having serious conversations. You can follow me also on Facebook and doing all. So I really love it. I've seen Feyo from Mombasa, Berry from Kajiado. I'm seeing Nairobi. I'm seeing people in the States. Thank you so much. I don't know if there's anyone with a question. I don't see anything, any questions. What contributes to the making of a relationship? Okay, so Daniel was asking that. So there's age. We've talked about age today, maturity. We've talked about, what was the other thing that I talked about? Gender. So you have to also be sensitive, gender sensitive. Am I dealing with, a woman because a woman is about feeling, Am I dealing with a man because this man is thinking things logically? It's not like, the way as a woman you think. So you need to know that, all right? I'm just quickly going. The character is the epitome of marriage. Yes, we say that. And there must be connection. So I can see that today I really taught well. But there's someone who has commented here and said, I saw my mom being harassed by her in-laws as a child by my aunties. Have been married for almost 20 years. The fear I have for my in-laws is extremely bad. I keep off unless when necessary, like funerals, weddings, and my in-laws are good to me. So thank you so much, Ella, for sharing this. Yes, what you're going through actually is fear, and you need to get yourself treated, because guess what? Not all in-laws are bad, but now the way you're building your character is based on a trauma or something that happened in your past, which means you're blocking the ability of you to enjoy the future, what I call the new generation, maybe in-laws and all that, because of what you went through. So I'd really like you to get into a space where you can address the fear, you can go back and kind of like realign yourself so that you're able to function in a very normal way. I hope I've answered that. Frida says, it's been 10 months since I felt like myself. I've been working on it, no fruit. Any idea how I can start this process? Kindly. Frida, I want to believe that you're very depressed. If you're not feeling, if you don't have motivation for anything, that shows there's some level of depression going on for you. You need help. You need someone to lift you up. You need to be what we call psychomotivated. So you can come, maybe you can look for a therapist. You can also contact me, though I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm actually overbooked, but you can start having that, conversation with a therapist. And once you're able to get to a place where you can go for coaching, because coaching is about a life-changing, process. anything that you don't like in yourself. Maybe you're too lazy, maybe you're not, and I'm not talking just only to you, but to any other person. You're feeling like you're dwelling in places of drug addiction, you're a gambler, you're addicted to pornography, and all these things that are unpleasant, that after doing them, you end up getting into depression, and you're seeing you're very stagnated and frustrated. You need to start having conversations and to get to the root cause of this thing that you're feeling. Why am I saying that? It could be a very tiny thing. Maybe hormone, when you come to the physiological aspect, maybe your hormone as a woman, there's something, the hormone that supports, motivation is not okay, is not in the right levels. And just going to hospital and being checked. If we are doctors here, I'm sure they would back me up on this. You're able to be given, hormonal therapy that would help you be able to function in a normal way. So we must try as much as we can, at whatever, capacity that we have, to try and normalize ourselves. When we underperform, we will end up very depressed people. When we underperform, it's like taking a Land Cruiser. Someone was giving me this example, a Land Cruiser, and you're driving at 20 kilometers per hour. You're actually, mistreating that car. Because that is a car that is meant for terrain. That is a car that has speed. So for you, if you're this Land Cruiser and you're operating at 10 kilometers per hour, your thoughts, you will not be okay. Something in you will be dysfunctional. So we need to get to a place where we start checking ourselves. And I'll be talking more about this even as we tackle the issue of relationship. Of course, for today, I wanted to really try and be on time. I'm seeing I have, I'm 4 minutes past the hour. Please forgive me so that I can answer 1 or 2 more questions. If your partner is less of an expressive person and you have repeatedly told them and they constantly say they'll change, but you don't see it, what should you do? Now, this is a very common problem. This is a very, Faith, thank you for asking. Because there are people who are just wired to be, number one, and I don't like using this word, but narcissists. Narcissists are there are different types. There are 4 major types of narcissists. But naturally, as human beings, they are not very expressive. Now, besides that, there are people who are brought up in difficult environments where they were not taught what love is. Now, even when they're laughing, they laugh inwardly. Inwardly, like they can't really, the way you have to have a wide smile. They cannot, because they have gone through very difficult life issues that they dwell on that being inexpressive. Now, if you have tried over and over again and the change is not coming, number one, first of all, acceptance is very important. As long as things are running and they're still able to love you, other than that flat face, please allow them to, life is about us, going in a step at a time, being team players and supporting each other. One other effective way is to try and do more fun things. Try and get involved in emotional, expressive things. Watch movies that are emotional. Like basically recondition that person. But you cannot just make them change by talking to them. There has to be some action. Even a sportsman must go and do, some gymming and all that to build the muscle. So because we want to turn this person and to make them be able to cry, probably, to express themselves, please feel free to try and engage in those spaces. And of course, once you get a support system, which include therapists that can be able to work with that person, they become more intentional, because therapy is also just bringing an awareness, making you more conscious about your habits. So I could be this flat-faced person, but probably when you walk in, and because you appreciate it when I respond to you, I can just give you a smile. And that smile can actually change the day for you. So it's about me knowing she loves it when I smile at her. She loves it when I do this. So it's the awakening of the conscious mind to be able to do certain things for the benefit or for the survival of a relationship. As I said, there's no relationship that is perfect. Relationships must go to hell and back. they also must go to heaven and back. So you're saying we are here for better, for worse. We are going to hold each other's hand. We are going to age gracefully. Even when the white hair is developing, the silver fox is coming and all that, we are still together. All right. So it's just about embracing the different challenges that you have and helping that person to get there. So I hope I've been able to answer you, Faye. And for more information, you can always come into my inbox and we will talk more and see how we can help you. All right. Let me see. So Rufus says, thank you. Please, could you advise how we can avoid fears of tomorrow in relationship? The fears, you cannot fear about the future if you're not dealing with now and the past. It is actually a progressive thing. So we first must go back, deal with the fears of the past. For example, if you have a fear for heights, deal with this, because when you meet it in the future, you will not be able to handle it. So try and, what that pattern that I've given you, try and think, where are my fears coming from? Get to the source, because every fear has a trigger. Rufus, every fear has a trigger. Personally, I'll tell you one thing. For a very long time, I used to struggle with dealing with, putting on the gas cooker. Why? When I was expecting my firstborn, we used to have a gas cooker that had some leakage. So before you could even put the matchbox in the right place, there would be some level of like some explosion, not explosion like the major, but it would go like poof, and then it would just light and it would work well. So for a very long time, I could not handle the cooker until I had to come now and address this situation and talk to myself and seek help. And right now, today, I can do everything that pertains to. So what I'm trying to say, Rufus, is go back and find out where is the source of this fear. Okay? Then try and, deal with the issue now. There's something we call, what do we call it? It's like throwing someone in a desensitization, where you're thrown into this pool of fear. And you're told, now swim. You're at the deepest end of the river or the ocean. You swim. Now, at that point, you'll struggle, you'll take in some water, but at some point, because of the need to survive, you will learn how to probably stay afloat. So it's the same thing when it comes to the mind. Sometimes we need to flood ourselves with this fear so that we are able to get out of it without really desensitizing and getting to that space where you're able to meet. It's like facing your giant, facing this thing that, and looking at it in the eyes and seeing, oh, it has a pimple here. Oh, it even has a horn. Basically, just knowing how this thing looks like and then addressing that situation, you cannot be able to deal with the future, because the future will have 7 of those fears and you'll not be able to even stand and face them. So start dealing with this one. This woman who's shouting, this thing that, is a threat to your relationship. Can I just address it? Oh, so it's me who's immature. Okay, how can I handle myself because of not, bothering when my wife is hurting? How can I handle myself if my husband is misbehaving and all that? So face that fear, address the issues. Ladies and gentlemen, you must undress so that you can address. Hiding scars, hiding these painful things that we go through will never help you. Start talking. Even when you close this mouth for one day without talking, the time you'll open that mouth, people will run away, literally, because it will be smelling. A lot of gases going in there. So what I'm just trying to say is, by trying to hide a lot of things, you begin to smell. People start now avoiding you because they cannot tolerate you. All right? So undress so that you can address issues. It just starts by taking that bold step. All right? Now, that said and done, I can see the last question. What about handling fear of the unknown? Fear of the unknown shows there's something that has to do with anxiety. Okay? Without you telling me, Frida, I can just speak. In terms of character, you're very anxious as a person. So you need to also now sit down and see, because people who are anxious are, anything just triggers them, like, now what will happen tomorrow? Oh, today we don't have food, so ideally it's the same thing. You need to sit down and sort out, first of all, that small thing that started with you of being anxious. Okay? Nothing just stems from nowhere. there's always a root cause. It's like saying there's a tree and this tree has fruits, but there's no roots. How do you have fruits and there's no roots? So the same thing happens. You must try and get to the root cause of this issue. Once you're able to identify it, now start pruning what needs to be pruned. Because some roots can go to the neighbor's place, go and block the road and all that. It's the same typical thing that happens in our situation. You are a root, but you've grown. Now you're even affecting your children. You're affecting your spouse because you just don't want to deal with yourself. All right? So, Frida, please try as much as you can to first get to the bottom of your anxiety. Ladies and gentlemen, that said and done, we have just begun this topic. Please make sure that you're around next week. I'm hoping that I'm going to be somewhere on ground and we'll be able to continue with the series, but I'm back. Yes, I was overwhelmed. I had a burnout and I had to take time out just to, re-energize myself. As you can see, I've added quite 2 or 3 kilos. My dietitian is here. He said I must lose weight, and of course, I'll start going for those walks. But otherwise, let me say thank you so much for coming in. Listen, just for you to set aside this 1 hour to empower yourself, let me tell you, this is gold. And I'll say this, just like I started, this session, the real wealth nowadays is mental health. You can have all the money in the world, but let me tell you, if you do not have peace of mind, you'll be popping sleeping pills just to get basic sleep. So learn how to work on this mind so that it becomes your slave, and you as a person not becoming its slave. You have the controls. I like using that word because I'm in the airline industry and I know what that does. Basically, you can lift yourself to any height. You can achieve anything you want to achieve just by starting to work on the mind. So that said and done, allow me to end this session. See you, of course, next week. I'll leave and just ask us to enjoy the music as you leave. God bless you so much, and see you next week. All right? Bye-bye. You can leave at your own pleasure. Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you, guys.